We're so lucky to have Neel from Inner Compass here. I want to bring her on. Hey Neel,
Hi, Nicole. How are you?
I'm good. How are you this
Well,
morning?
it's actually afternoon for me because I'm in Amsterdam.
Thank you for joining
Well,
us.
thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm so excited. I love all sorts of different cards and decks. So tell me, what's it like where you are right now?
Yeah, so as of the beginning of the whole pandemic, we were kind of allowed and spending time outside of our houses and meeting people. But, we have obviously the social distancing, but there is not so many face masks on the streets. It's only mandatory in public transport. They were talking about making it mandatory, wherever you are, but that's off the table for now.
It's so interesting that it's become, I mean, especially because we have an election coming up. It's become a political issue, sadly,
Yeah.
about a mask or not a mask.
I think the story, the narrative is bigger than the disease, to be honest.
It's interesting to see how fear takes an effect in people right now.
Yeah, that's actually my main reason why I do the research behind all the narratives and dive into it a little bit deeper than the mainstream media would do.
Do you mind sharing a little bit about you and your past
The
and
cards.
your spiritual, yeah, well, but also your spiritual enlightenment? I really want to know, like, how you find inner peace and inner gratitude and how you came up with the cards. And then I want to play around with the
Yeah.
cards.
Yeah. So I've been looking for inner peace, I think, the half of my life. I had some things to conquer in this lifetime. For me, I was born with insomnia, for example. I was so far away from myself as of a very young age that I couldn't feel physical pain, or for example, if cold water, or sitting outside until late, and I was not never experienced. I just couldn't experiencing cold or whatever. I think it's about 13 years ago, I started reading the books of Eckhart Tolle, The New Earth, and he talks about how we can relate to our emotions and physical pain. And well, I started studying it, and after I think about 10 years, I carried so much knowledge around this and around living in the now, and you know um, how you identify with yourself or with and how to keep distance from your emotions. And but I was not living it. I was very much aware that it was not integrated, all this knowledge.
It's so amazing how someone can have so many things available to them, but if they don't take it in and incorporate it doesn't
Yeah.
integrate, as you said.
Yeah, and actually it's really funny because that journey, it's the shortest but also the longest. It's a few inches from to drop from your head into your heart, but it's actually our most challenging journey in this lifetime, I think. When I was about 32, I also got a acute insomnia, so I had two going on, and I was one step in a psychosis and panic attacks and no immune
Wow.
system, no nerve system. Well, it was there, but it was totally crashed. So I had to recover from that, and it took me years. And in those last few years, I started integrating all the knowledge that I had, because I really had to. Life was really calling me out to let go of control, because I was a total control freak and a perfectionist. Life kind of forced me into living from the heart and more intuitively, as like to call it. The thing that helped me most in this journey was the angel cards by Doreen Virtue. I was suffering, and the only ritual that I could do was picking one card a day. After I think 2 or 3 weeks, I was so amazed by how well the cards knew where I
It's
was
so
at.
weird and so cool how it happens.
Yeah, I really like to dedicate my life to this because I believe in it so much. Because this is one of the most effective tools, I think, and any card deck is. You pick cards blindly, you kind of give another intelligence a chance to help you. That intelligence is part of you, but we are so narrowed down to this 2 to 5%, which is the mind. But there's so much more, which is the subconscious mind, which is steering us all day. And this gives a chance to tap into that subconscious. They are a little bit deeper and more layered than the average deck. The same card can have a completely different interpretation tomorrow. Your intuitive thinking will give it a different interpretation.
I'm learning so much about trust in myself. Do you think that there's an element of trust in the cards?
Totally, because it's
thank you.
Totally, because I by now I know that life kind of challenges us and gives us the lessons we need in order to let go of control. That's kind of one of the things that we're here for, to learn how to surrender and how to trust.
Will you share like from beginning to end and then walk us through?
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah. I'm going to, I'll use the original cards. So to explain the difference, I developed 2 cards by now. The first deck I created to offer people support to find direction in life. And the second one offers guidance for all the relationships that we have. All of the relationships, not only romantic, but obviously most questions are about romantic love.
So before we get started, I know that we have your cards in our Amazon shop, in our link tree, if someone wants to get it. Where else are the decks available for people to order?
In the US, it's goop.com, Urban Outfitters. Soon we will be in Anthropology. We got into Revolve this week. So
that's awesome.
Very proud of that as well. So let me guide you through. I would like to offer all of the followers who are watching and will watch this a personal reading. So in order to make it as personal as we can, I will offer you a moment to set your own intention for this reading. You pick a card blindly, obviously, and that's how we tap into our subconscious or intuition. So I've spread them out here, and I would like to ask all of you to let's inhale. Let's connect to the moment and to ourselves for a second. Then I would like you to come up with a certain situation that is a dominant thing now in your life that you need some advice for. A situation or a relationship or some thoughts. If you want, you can ask a very specific question, but I would suggest to focus on yourself. Oh, cool. All right, this is interesting because the card says neutral. And I immediately feel, while I was kind of guiding this little meditation, I was very focused and connected with the consciousness of us here. But the moment that since I'm holding the card, I feel this whole pandemic thing coming through as well. So let your intuition rule and lead you. Neutral. This card indicates there is something going on in your life right now that deserves to be seen without judgment. Everything is subjective and nothing is clinched in facts. It all depends on your perspective. The position that you take as an observer is a clear-cut one to you. Do you realize that what you might believe might not be the truth? Is it possible that you are stuck in your own story like so many others? Can you be open to the possibility that your perspective is not the only one, nor that it's the right one? Truthfully, you can never know what is right or wrong. The difference in value between gold and stone shifts under certain circumstances. You see, it's not reality that determines your perspective. Your perspective determines reality. What you see is nothing but a projection of what's going on inside of you. It's therefore important to give yourself space to see what you see and feel what you feel, without preconceptions or conditions. You might judge your feelings, keeping sorrow at bay and inviting joy over and over again. The thinking mind is ruling here. The thoughts that reign are in turn determined by beliefs and experiences from the past. Once you learn how to shift in perspective, you give your thoughts the chance to become more flexible. Your black and white beliefs and absolute convictions will soften, enabling a more neutral position. Let this card be an inspiration to rediscover your true awareness. Follow your natural compass towards freedom.
It's interesting because an interesting person presented themselves to me in a time where I was thinking about attributes or qualities of someone that I would want to surround myself with. Interesting person happens to be on a plane next to me that literally is all those attributes that I was sort of saying that maybe I would want to surround myself with. And I keep wondering, like, what is the universe trying to tell me? That was sort of what I was wondering, like, what do I need to do to see what's here? So that's an interesting thing about kind of what I took from that is sit back and get some perspective.
Yeah. And judgment. There's no need to, we judge all day, every day. That's kind of how we are programmed.
Yeah, the stories that we put here may not be the reality of what's happening.
Yeah. I really like that in the card that it says, the value of stone and gold can change and shift and, you know, completely change under different circumstances. And that's actually also with the person next to you in the plane, or it's like it goes for everything. Yeah.
Well, and I also think it's interesting that we talked about what's going on right now. And I think that with a moment's, without instantly, it can shift what we see value in, what we see as important, what's going on in here, it all can change. You know, no, I don't think any of us thought that we would be here on July 29th, where we are 6 months ago, 8 months ago, a year ago, but we adapt, and it's interesting to see. I like that, and I'm curious why neutral is what came up.
What? You're curious?
I said I'm curious how it's neutral that came up, and it's always so fascinating to me that when the card comes up, and I wonder what it brought up for any of the viewers. So did anything come up for you? Does something always come up for you as well?
No, mostly if I'm channeling, if I'm offering readings to another person, then I'm channeling, then I am, sometimes I do get information, but it's from their subconscious. From the moment that I was holding the card in my hands, I felt there's not one truth in this whole crisis situation that's going on. You know, there's so many truths, and actually it's our perspective that determines our reality.
It's like what the aliens must think of America right now.
Well, and the entire planet. I know it's way more challenging for you guys in America because it's a much bigger community to serve. There's not one narrative in Europe, so we cannot compare it easily.
Do you ever feel that cards can be a tool of ease for people?
Totally, yeah. Sometimes it's a confirmation for whatever, you know, whatever steps you're taking, or to me, most of the times it brings me peace and ease. Yeah, totally.
And I think what you've done in your journey in creating the cards is, even if somebody just has that ritual once a day and that moment, that you can bring them some of that peace and ease. And even if it's validation, because sometimes the cards give us some of that validation that maybe we're seeking.
And sometimes it's also a slap in the face.
Sometimes we don't always hear what we want to hear, but it's a good guide for us.
Every challenge is an opportunity to wake up, to wake some part of you that wants to be seen and heal that.
So you're staying in Holland, I'm assuming, for a while?
I guess so, yeah. I was supposed to be back in LA by now, I guess, but to do some events for Goop.
Because I'm happy that Europe seems to be, you know, I see some people on vacation. I know my family that lives in France is up in the country and sort of enjoying themselves. So I'm praying and hoping that we can start to get there. I would love for you and I to have tea
Yeah,
or something when you're here.
yeah.
And get to know each other better. And I'd love to see what events we can do. And for anyone, go to our Amazon store, go to innercompass.com, get cards. We'll figure out if we can do something for someone. But thank you so much, Neel, for giving me your time this evening. And I'm so grateful.
Thanks for sharing your time with me and all of us who are here.
Bye,
Thanks
cutie.
for
Have a
having
wonderful
me.
day.